Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Sir Stephen Topham at the third. We're going to talk about something very, very seriously here. And the question I'm going to ask you for the North Norfolk Railway or the North Western Railway Company, are you doing your job for the uniform? Now, if it's a quote, don't get me wrong, are you actually doing it for the uniform? Now, I'm going to give you a little lowdown on how the job works when you're working for the North Norfolk Railway or any railway company. You're actually wearing a uniform, a very privatised uniform. Now, when you wake up in the morning and you smell the coffee, drink your coffee or have a cup of tea, whatever, and then you don't realise there are already employees or volunteers already starting work at about 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Right? They have to steam up and stoke up the engines, right? They do that all night. Why? Because it's a night process, right? Then people say, why do we stoke up the engine in it at night? It's to keep it boiler lit up. You can't just cool it off, scrape out the old dirt or scrape out the old coal, which you could do. And then when a lot of people that come on about 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, the people that wear that uniform, it doesn't matter what company or former company you are working for, right? For the uniform. Now, when the employees or volunteers start to come on, they represent not they represent the former company, not the North Norfolk Railway in the name. That's just that's the name you're travelling under now, which is very hard. It's a North Western Railway Company, yes, but you have to look at yourselves and say, am I doing this for money or doing it for the uniform? The uniform helps you to gain respect. If you're not getting that respect because there's problems in the air, that isn't your fault. It's the management's fault. So when you wear the uniform first thing in the morning and doing the job all day, paying for tickets, clearing up the mess, right? You're still wearing that uniform to represent the railway, right? A lot of porters and guards don't even realise, why do we wear these uniforms? Why do we clear up the mess? Why do you think I watch and eyes and ears and keep an eye on you guys? I said, the reason I tell you now, are you doing the job for the uniform? Now, a lot of people will think twice on this question, and I want you to think very hard and clearly about this because it's a very, very good question. Because are you doing the job not just for the money, but for the uniform as well? Are you doing it for the uniform or for your own free benefit, or are you representing something else? Now, a lot of people have strengths and weaknesses, and I guarantee that, right? But when it goes down the line, are you doing the job for the uniform or for the money? Now, you have to break it in two parts slightly because you need to understand, are you representing the company or are you representing the money that you earn? Because you can't have it both ways, right? So when you earn the money as an employee or a volunteer, it works both ways to a certain level degree. But when you think hard, right? In my last podcast, I told you about your prices and how expensive they were, right? Being honest is better than nothing because you're getting the honesty and you're getting the facts and you're getting the truth of what is damaging the railway itself. So when you wake up in the morning, right, when you put that uniform on, the customers are scared of you, right? But the uniform represents the former company, the Midland and Great Northern Joint Railway. Why? When it was the 50s and 60s, right, during the 1958, something like that, the LNER took over the Norfolk Railway, right? Be realistic, because it's all true and it's all realistic, right? So what we do is say, are you doing it for the uniform or are you doing it for the money? Because the money factor will always be there to pay you in the end of the day. That's not the big issue here. The big issue is the LNER helped the Midland and Great Northern Joint Railway and the Great Eastern in a big, big way, right? Because we work together as a foundation, but the foundation started long, long time ago, right? So when we look forward, and when you put that uniform on, right? My uniform is to represent my family. My family helped you in a massive way you can imagine. Did I get the respect that I want to earn? Not all the time, because I had to gain it. I had to make sure I respect it. But it's similar with the uniform. When you got M&GN on the sides of your arms, right? You're representing the former company, right? The LDR is the baseline, right? The London North Eastern Railway Company helped the M&GN, the joint railway. But the foundation to all of this is asking yourself the question, why are you wearing the uniform? This is the thing what people get annoyed about, but they will learn the value of money at the same time, right? When I when a lot of employees used to work in the past, they did it when they put that uniform on. They represent the company. The M&GN doesn't exist as much, but the actual Norfolk Railway, the name, not PLC. Forget the PLC. That's just the bullshit side. The Norfolk Railway, the name itself, is what you're representing. The Midland Great Northern, you're representing, right? That's always on your uniform, right? But you want to be in a position where you feel comfortable on the platform, right? You can do the job in the best way you can. I'm acknowledging you to do the best way you can to achieve the ultimate goal you were able to achieve. Right? I've got a bigger life stake at this moment because I've got to protect you all. Right? The uniform that I wear is private and personal, where it's also business on top. Right? So my name is at stake because the Norfolk Railway threw me out. Right? Your uniform as a whole, as porters and guards, you start waking up and smelling the coffee and realize you're representing something. That uniform you put on, it's what like Captain Cisco used to say. Are you doing it for the uniform or are you doing it for something else? You know, realistically, when you put that uniform every morning, when you wake up, have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee, and then you go on the platform and you start to do the job you were doing, right? For let's say from 9 o'clock to 5 p.m. in the evening, right? That's your deadline, right? The customers are afraid of you at this moment. They are really, really not in the right frame of mind to say, I don't want to go on a Norfolk Railway at this moment. They've got bad publicity, they've got bad respect, they've got everything. The prices are very too high. So what do they look into? Then you have to break down all the days plus the night at the same time and work out why does the Norfolk Railway actually stay open for 24 hours? Why? Because we have to stoke up the engines during the night. Why is that? is to keep the boilers running a little bit. I understand you got to clear it out first in the evening, and then you restoke it up with new coal. Bio coal, as they call it. Bio coal is more efficient than the normal coal that you used to do in the past. So the bio coal is what the North Norfolk Railway buys. So what happens? That bio coal gets used, right? And then everything falls into place. But when we do this in the night, then the volunteers, then the employees start to wake up early in the morning between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning, and they start to open up, right? They go in, and what do? They do the job they were set out to do, right? They did at this time. The porters and the guards did not disrespect the community. Why? Because they gained the respect for the bottom up and build it all up again and said this is why the volunteers, the employees and that reporters and guards started to build a relationship with other people, the community as well, saying we're getting better, we're getting better, we're getting better. But while you got that baggage underneath with all those high prices, you're not going to go any further at this moment. You may wear that uniform, but the uniform represents the Midland and Great Northern Joint Railway, well, upside down, the North Western Railway Company, right? So when you really think about it logically, you're doing the hard day's work. You have a lunch break. Then you have a morning break, obviously, have a cup of tea first thing in the morning. They would not let you have no first unless you got up and realised, right, I'll go to the railway, got my uniform on, put my boots on, and I'm ending up strictly going to the North Norfolk Railway, have a cup of tea with my colleagues and my connections or whatever, your connections or colleagues and all of that. And then you start to realise, like, the railway start, like what you would call, starts to kick in, right? The community will start to come on. But with those high prices, you need to drop them and realise they come first. So when you think of the community, what what you're wearing is the best uniform out there, right? The M&GN is is basically gone, history, right? But we're not forgotten. But the barrier of all of this is gaining that respect back for you. But you have to start at the bottom. The uniform, you're representing it, the company, the former company. It's not pushing them further into the future or whatever. No, that's a total ball game now. The board game has changed for the better, not for the worse. But you have to realistically realize when when was the time when the Midland Great Northern Joint Railway and the Great Eastern had their own logos, even if it tells you straightforward. Porters and guards are very important, right? Right? They're the people that do all the stoking up for the engines in the morning and everything else. They have to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. Stoke up the engines and then bring them into Sheringham or Wellsworth or wherever. Bang, and then couple up to the train, right? So when you think the trains that are not running during the day, they're ready to couple up. So when you got a uniform, wearing in there, you going in the carriages, getting people's tickets during the day, what do you think about? Is it the money first or the pride and respect you can earn? This is why I said money isn't an issue. The prices are ridiculous. Yes, I totally agree. But the uniform you wear during the day, every day of the week, You're working for the North Norfolk Railway / the North Western Railway Company. And when you wake up and smell that coffee, you start to realise, yes, this uniform means a lot to a lot of people. It's like mine, personally, as well. And it's like that with a bigger gun. But you've not got a gun. You need to start realise there's a bigger picture involved in all of this. And when you look at it, you will look at it and realise this is not about money all the time. It's about respect. The community won't go back on that railway until you clear your act up. You know, we have a boundary, excuse my French, for hold up, electric tunnel and living room. Hold on. Sorry about this. So when you wear the uniform during the day, right, I want people to understand you're wearing it for a reason. The uniform will always be there day after day and after day, right? But there are times when you have to dry clean it, so you're gonna have to have fresh one to put on and everything else. The North the North Norfolk Railway or the North Western Railway Company can't always provide you with a fresh one in the morning or the afternoon in the morning, right? So you'd have to prioritise, right? When you look back and look at the people that done it before you, they know the routine inside and out. This is like teaching a lot of people to understand the uniform. Are you doing it for the uniform? Or are you doing it just for the money as well? You know, there's a lot of questions floating about on this, and I really like to clear everybody's head out and make sure, are you doing it for the uniform or for the money? But the money is always going to be there for you. But the fact is, you need to realise when you put that uniform on, you need to look in the mirror and realise I'm doing it for the company that previously done it before, the previous generation that done it for before us, right? I don't want you to have a bad taste in the morning or afternoon, feel like he has a valid point, which I have got a valid point, and acknowledging that when you think of the management that didn't help you as much, they think they know it all. What has just happened? Just ask myself. Ask the question that I'm going to give you. What just happened in 2019 that screwed you all over, and now we're paying the price for it? It's the fact you're wearing the uniform, the prices are too high, people can't afford it. What do you do to fix that problem? Right? We always talk about prices, but this is about the uniform as well. This is like a two-parter situation, right? You need to start realizing the uniform will always be there, but the money is not the case either. But you need to start prioritizing. We got a 5 mile journey backwards and forth, 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 and people have got it in their heads and realizing that you're gonna have to start on the foundation of what everybody did. You can't break it off, you can't destroy it, and you can't motivate it and say, look, a lot of people know this from the backhand without me telling you, right? It's like teaching a bunch of cadets to be engineers, science departments, or be lieutenants or captains or whatever, or admirals on top of that, and then teaching them all the basics that we have learnt and pass the knowledge, right? I'm going to be honest with you and I'm going to be straightforward, right? The uniform may be giving you a bit of respect, but are you willing to realise You're not just doing it for the money. When you do the job, being a ticket and monitor or a coal, let's just say if you were stoking up the engine, you wear coal, in a driver's uniform, right? An engine driver's uniform. That's still representing the railway in any direction. But when it comes down to this, what people have noticed, when you wear that uniform, you represent the railway. You just not acknowledge it's not always about money. And this is why prices are too high. The uniform, are you representing the uniform? Are you acknowledging that you're doing it for the uniform? Are you representing the M&GN? Are you representing the Norfolk Railway? Or are you representing everything that's unfolded in front of you and acknowledge that you are not the only person on this planet that has to do that job, right? When you do it for the uniform, you do it for everybody that looks up to you, and they want to see what this railway's gonna do. I'm going to break it down now, where you can understand everything that's unfolded, right? It's not about just the railway legacy and destiny. It's everything unfolded, right? When you look at yourself and when you use your own eyes and ears, do you really think people are going to pay their money, that type of money to you, towards the Norfolk Railway, and you're wearing that uniform? The uniform is important to everybody. I'm just trying to acknowledge because the uniform has a purpose in life, right? A lot of this is all realistic. This is why I said when my grandfather, Sir Topham Hatt the First, was alive and well, trying to do the same scenario to tell you it's it's not just about the uniform, it's the job as well. And they want cheaper prices and everything else. My Sir Topham Hatt the First, my grandfather, always made sure that people get well treated. It's not just when they when if he was alive today, he won't be impressed with the prices. Just like I am. I'm not impressed with the prices. But the uniform you wear day after day after day, make sure that you understand the uniform is always representing it, right? When you put the hat on and you put the suit on, are you really got it in your head to realise when you do the job you do, portering, guarding, or ticket office or ticket management in the railway carriage and all of that as well, and that's included. And then people will start to work out why. Why is the uniform more important? It just doesn't represent just the railway. It represents you as a person. Personality goes well or not well. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, prices when you break down the chain of command of the railway company, you like saying the Norfolk Railway does this, and this, A and B and C. I'm not going down the line, but I want you to understand when you wake up in the morning, starting at 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning, and then work and work and work right up to 5 o'clock in the evening, and then you're wondering why. People, have, a lot of people don't pay attention to this, and they look and realise what is more important around here, the money or the uniform. The uniform will always be there, but the problem is, then you've got to break it down and realise if we're representing this, what is when you look, when you probably pondering over this, for the evening time or night time when you really think hard about this and going round in circles in your head thinking he may have an honest opinion on this. And I will always have an honest opinion. I'll be, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt to say, look, the uniform is not giving you power, it's giving you respect. But if the uniform is not giving you the respect for obvious reasons, then you've got to break it down and work out, is that money issues, management issues, or either something else? You can't just be optimistically saying, oh, this is what is happening. I didn't realize the uniform actually represents something. It does. Because when you talk about prices in the last podcast, I stated to you all that the prices are too high and I want you lot to be acknowledged by it. And I don't want you to think it's your fault because it isn't your fault. Right? When it all comes together, when you work out and putting that uniform on every day of your life, you're not representing just yourself. You're representing the railway itself. When you when you do the job and you get well paid, as they say for employees, the volunteers are not getting anything. So give them a bit of respect, will you? The volunteers deserve a little bit more respect on the longer note. But on the previous generation, they weren't so lucky because the management messed up. Right? When the management messed up, they screwed up big time. It took them 5, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Right? Think of yourself, right, wearing that uniform, right, for 5 years, and you start to grow up, and you start to wear the newer version of the uniform and all that. See, when it comes to, like, let's say you were accidentally booted out for obvious reasons, let's say that example, and you didn't do nothing wrong as a volunteer. This is why I need people to wake up and smell the coffee, because what you're seeing is the option of what people are saying. When you put that uniform on, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing the railway. And when I do my job, I work hard, but I don't play hard because I'm trying to help the community get back into the railway with a lower and cheaper prices. Because in the day, the management haven't got the time to fix stuff. They haven't got the ability to work it out and wake up and smell a bloody damn coffee, right? All they care about is the money. I understand that the porters and guards have to think twice and say, am I doing this for money or the uniform, right? When the management comes in, they come in with their fancy shirts and ties and so forth, right? And then you're ending up thinking, oh crud, this is reality of what's going on. And people won't pay attention because they can't work out, are you really, when you break it all down to the bottom, right? You have the foundation of how it started or how it booted up, right? Then you have the first generation, then the second generation, then the third, right? The North Norfolk Railway have to realise how lucky they are, but they also have to realise don't cross the line because you cross the line with the prices, the booting out of the employees or volunteers. On top of that, in 2019, which I won't forget because I was booted out at the same time, right? It's all a duck story. So watch that, and you'll understand why people got peed off, right? Right from 2019, right? You're trying to build yourselves back up, right? there's a boundary where people are noticing stuff, noticing prices too high, too acknowledged, but they want to know why did the porters and guards reduce the cost and realize they're not going to gain that much every day for every person or adult or family or whatever. Dogs and bikes, this is what I keep acknowledging. When you wear that uniform, they look to you as the enemy. And when they look up to you as the enemy, that's it. They want to, they haven't got to know you as an individual. They don't acknowledge that you've got to work hard. Yes, we understand that. We know the money has to come in for the railway. But it's a 5 mile trip. Now do the calculations in your head on this. When you wear that uniform day after day, and it doesn't stop until you realise it's gonna hit you at some point. Right? The uniform will always be there. But the actual fight, the background or the money issues that the Norfolk Railway is having is unnecessary to get people to realise we're not paying that type of money because we know we can spend it on something better. But to get you back, to get them back all in, like they always do, right? 2024 will be your downfall because you need to wake up and smell the coffee and realise if it's not the uniform, it's the money, right? It's not the porters, guards, it isn't their fault, right? It's the actual management that's doing the damage. Let them rip it. Let them do it, right? Because it's not my fault either, because I'm the innocent one. So when you look, right, people wear porters and guards uniform and right, the first thing first you always have to be wary of is when you step on that platform and start your day of work. Don't always expect every person to go on that railway. Don't be frustrated to say, why are they not coming on? Why are they not coming on? I'm trying, you have to work your little magic on this because it always to do with understanding why. Because you have to be intelligent enough to be working on that railway. It's not about the track safety test. It's about acknowledging that you, as a whole, you got a big problem. It's not the porters or guards' fault, right? We acknowledge that it's the management's fault, which I will acknowledge, right? Like I said, I have contacts on the inside that's watching your every move, right? They will come back and they always clear their heads and tell me, this is what we don't like about this railway, this is what we don't like about this railway, and then people will start moaning, right? As a porter and a guard, you do not, in all plain eyesight, when you're solving a problem or recorrecting a problem, what do you do first, right? When there's administrating team, the people behind it all that say, right, this is how much we want the prices to be and all of that, right? The uniform is what you're wearing, right? You represent the uniform, you represent the railway. But at the same time, you have to realise that the administrating team also have a uniform, but they go pish posh, right? I'm not blaming the porters and the guards on this one. I'll blame them because now the porters and guards have to get clever. They have to get smarter and realise right from wrong. It's not about the uniform. The uniform will always be there. This is why I say rise of the hats for the uniform. Right? People want the people's respect. They want answers. They want the community wants it. Not the porters and the guards, just them as well. They're victims. They're all victims. Act like them as one big package and say, right, all the porters, all the guards, all the employees are all victims, right? The employers and the administrative team are the enemies here, right? If the Norfolk Railway had more respect for the community and realised what is going on in town or working around with the town, acknowledging and understanding what's my strengths and weaknesses. They don't even write it on paper, they don't give a damn. Excuse my French, but I do. I want you to be the only person to understand you because I want your acknowledgement to realise I will not take no BS on this problem, right? So, when you say, are you doing it for the uniform or are you doing it for the money, right? Because the money situation will always be there. But the fact is, do you actually deserve the money at this moment? Do you actually want the money? Yes, we all understand that you need the money for the employees. But for the porters and the guards, they have to think twice because they're going to look at those prices and say, oh, they are reasonable, blah, blah, blah. What are, it's not you, it's not the porters or the guards, it's the management that really don't look at the bigger picture. So, when you break down the route, right, really hard, and you're really looking it down on a piece of paper, that uniform you wear, you're representing the railway, not just yourself, right? When you come out of that uniform at the end of the day, they want to see the real you, that not the working you. So separate private life from work, right? People that don't do this, this is why the Norfolk Railway failed so badly, right? So the management messed up because they don't associate with all the employees or all the volunteers or anything like that. And this is why they got kicked out the first time round. So, work backwards and go forwards. So, what do you do as the employee to realise that the prices are too high? What do you do? You're wearing the uniform and you're in work, and what do? You go to the management, right? The management will make a lame excuse saying it's reasonable prices, blah blah blah, because it's off peak and it's peak times. No, you need to realise they still pricey. When you look at the route itself, right? This is why the management are not thinking straight. It's like them. Let's take the management as a separate entity, right? They're not doing it for the uniform. They're not doing it just for. They're doing it for money, yes. But when they're out and about, they go to pubs, get pissed, and then come to work the next day. They don't think. So when they think, right, when you're working hard, if you've got me as example, right, as an employer, right, I don't drink, I don't smoke, right, I exactly know how porters and guards feel, but they've been. Let's take another employer that I knew, or employee that I really knew too well, right? He knew who I was. He knew exactly what to do, and I said, "Look." He looked at me and realised. I told him straight in the eye. I told him, "Don't bother calling whatever." And I said, "You'd be misleading them." Right? I made it quite clear. So I left the premises. Right? But the porters and the guards don't know the damage what's been done. So what do happens? Right, you have to realise special events is what backs you up a bit, right? People will pay that type of money because it's bigger events, bigger unfoldments, so they're big achievements in life, right? When it's not, but when it hasn't got a special event and it's just a normal standard days or whatever, you need to start realising the administration team always get drunk. They always get drunk because they're ending up, don't realise, wake up in the morning and they don't think clearly and they don't even realise what they do is the consequences. Right? I want to help people become better than what they already have. We all have to work together on this. You can't just bang, 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 we got a problem solved. No, don't scrape it onto the carpet because it won't work with me, right? So when you do it for the uniform, right, there's a bigger thing in play. So when you're a porter or guard and you look at those prices and you know they are ridiculous and you're too ashamed to admit it, which is true, and then you're ending up thinking, what do I do about it? Always do what needs to be done. Don't be ashamed because it could get you up the ladder and make the administration team aware, right? Then you've got to put it all together and realise there's a bigger picture involved. So when it all comes together, little pieces come together, right? Then when you look at it, you will understand I'm right. Because when you look at those prices and look at the people that don't want to pay that prices because they're too expensive, then you will start to realise your uniform is basically a not a shameful one, but acknowledge that they will not go near you because you're trying to sort this problem out. You're trying to acknowledge about what people's needs are, but then you got to realise that the administration team always want. And when you take out the wants, then you can start prioritising and realise we could stand on our 2 feet, get rid of the administrating team, because they just are, like if I told them in front of their faces, you're not worth fighting because you're just basically a catalyst waiting to go off, right? So when people start looking at prices and acknowledging how the community feels, then it will change the record and it will turn against the administration because the administration don't give a shit, excuse my language, and they will not understand why you're wearing that uniform. The uniform is important to everybody. And when I see everybody's eyes, it doesn't matter if it's Porter 1, Porter 2, or Guard 1 and 2, or 3 or 4. It's all 3 stations, right? So when you think of 3 stations plus the halt, which only gets one stop, or then it exits itself out, right? You have to realise 5 miles isn't expensive at all. So then you got to work out where is this extra money going to? Right, the employees and the porters and the guards, you want some money, obviously. I acknowledge that. But people want reasonable prices. You might have tons and tons of people coming on that platform if the prices weren't too high. You know? So acknowledge the uniform you wear shows what you do from 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning, all the way to 5 p.m. in the evening. Right? So when you wear that uniform, think about the community not just the uniform, because everything has a meaning, and it's acknowledging. You can't just say we got to acknowledge about these prices because they're too high. But by going to the administration, you're getting yourself booted out, right? Which I know that because that's the action they want to take every time. The administration always wants to boot you out every time you try and stand up to acknowledge what's right from wrong. And when you acknowledge that high price of material, right, which the whole community will understand now, they will help you once they acknowledge what's going on. And they will acknowledge everything else. It's not a game anymore. So when you think about it, when you're doing all the hard work and the achievements in your life, in everybody's life for that matter as well, people will wear porters guards. They are important, but they are also witnesses. Witnesses have what if you don't have the web cameras running as example, your eyes and your ears are the key tools on the railway. Right? Right, because you witnessed it, number one, and your ears also give it away. Your eyes and your ears. It's like a web camera everywhere. So when you realise what to establish on it, the North Norfolk Railway itself is too expensive. So if you're gonna really want to screw this all up, this is what I'm saying. It's not the porters and guards' fault, but you have to realise you're wearing that uniform for a reason. It's acknowledging that we got to put it right. We also have to acknowledge what's in front of us, and there's a problem there. You know that the prices are too expensive. You know that, but you're scared to do the right thing at the right time. So when I wake up in the morning or afternoon, I worry about the porters and the guards. I worry about what's in front of them. When they come to you, the administration team or the management will not give a damn because they think they don't think like like the porters and the guards and all of that. They see what has been acknowledged. When people think, they know there's a bigger picture involved. Are you doing it for the uniform? It's my ultimate key here. So when you wear that uniform, you're representing something in the end. And it's acknowledging what's unfolded in front of you is the truth. It's the logic of understanding prices are too high. It's not your fault, but it could affect you. Yes, because the management messed up. So what do? You can't go to the management and ask them to decrease the prices, right? To bring in the community and everything else. It's respect, right? Trust, honesty, and respect. Three things. And if you don't have all of that, then you're screwed. Right? You need to start realizing drinking alcohol during work time or after work time is wrong. Why do you think I'm clear headed to wake up to tell you every morning that I'm alright, bum boof? Why? Because I'm clear headed. So when I wake up and realise what's going on, I hear a steam train or I hear a diesel sometimes. It's not about that. It's about the people on the platform getting the respect they need. Respect. If you want to, right, let's say you've got 7 days of a week, as example, I'm going to really narrow it down now. Right, you've got 7 days of a week, right? Those 7 days, right, have different volunteers employees, and that's it, right? The management will not give a shit until there's a problem, right? When you acknowledge the prices are too high, this is where you need to make your stand. The Steam team are ready to make that stand for you. When they booted us all out in 2019, they just got the biggest army against them, right? That's the community as well, around the globe and all sorts. So it's not just the A, B, C, and D, right? Basically, the whole Steam team, the second gen and the third gen, and myself are ready to come back in to recorrect all of this mistake because I do not want this to escalate to a bigger problem than what it is. Right? The bigger problem you can't see on the naked eye unless you see it. Right? You may have a leaflet with all the prices in it, or you may have a leaflet, or you say to the customer, oh, this is about 15 quid, 20 quid, blah, 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 going on down the line. And then you hear it, you see it, right? The uniform then becomes your worst nightmare because it is what it stands for. The uniform is representing the railway, but you're also representing yourself as a person. So if you really want to break it down the line, you need to start realizing there's a bigger picture involved. This is why people don't want to come back to the North Norfolk Railway. They won't. They're seeing it as too expensive. The management will not do anything, right? Porters and guards who are on little standbys can't do nothing, right? So when they look in the sky and look in the land and everything else, we have eyes and ears everywhere. So don't feel like we're against you. We are trying to help you as much as we can. We can't do nothing unless I'm on that platform. So when the platform is in threat, the porters and guards can't do nothing. They all are at a standstill. And when they all are at a standstill, they're representing a uniform that doesn't represent nothing. So when it all comes together, what comes to your mind? I want people to really, really think about this. The uniform you put on, you're representing it, right? So when you go on the platform and you got that uniform on, then you're gonna have to think twice, right? You could either there's two ways about this, and I want people to think very hard, very clearly on this as well, because this is where you're hurting yourself, but you're damaging the company and its name. So work it out. You need to start prioritizing. You need to straighten your head out. You need to realize prices are too high. You got to acknowledge that you need to start realizing we can't work for the railway anymore because the railway has damaged itself too badly for me to even fix itself. So if I went up there trying to fix it, all they will do is cause confusion and delay. And there will be so much confusion that the management won't give a damn. You got porters and guards on standstill, and they won't be able to do anything. But they know what's going on, and they know exactly that they can't do nothing. Right? This is why I said break down everything and realize what you're good at. Stick to what you're good at. But you can't do that because you have to motivate this little brain of yours to realize there's something more about this problem. And you're going to click like I have and realize there's something wrong with this place. And you're going to acknowledge yourself to realize why. Why? Why is the uniform so important? If people had common sense these days, right? The management will not give a damn until they realise that you, at, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Mr. X or Mrs. X or whatever, they put that uniform on in the morning and they do the same job or whatever, and they ending up realising we, it's like somebody has got a lot to say. If you don't say it, the customers will. And that will spark you off and realise how much of a rip-off it was to begin with. So you have to look down and realise I'm not joking, I'm not laughing, I'm very serious because I want you porters and the guards to think we won't work here because it's, it's a railway that can't be salvaged at the moment. You know, there's people that are winning on standby. The steam team is on standby. What I mean is people that know the railway really well should have never been booted out in the first place. It's a big damage, but it needs to be corrected. So when you wear that uniform every day of your lives, you're not doing it just for fun or entertainment or games, or you're doing it for money on one part, but then you've got to realise when you look at the timetables and look at the prices, what goes through your head. Let me explain this in better terms. The money is not the way forward at this moment, right? You have to balance out what is right from wrong first, right? People paying more on the North Norfolk Railway. It's not about it's why they come out pissed off. No offence, but this is why. It's a letdown on the North Norfolk Railway's fault because the uniform makes you what you stand for. But there's porters, there's guards, there's everything. They have to work to realise, to understand why is the prices too expensive. Why are we getting paid so much, but nobody's coming? You need to really break it down, and this is why I'm trying to acknowledge to you all out there. It's not just about the uniform. When you do straighten up and realise what is going on up there, you will acknowledge that it's not about what, it's about acknowledging what you see is what you're getting, but at the same time, when people put on that uniform, right, M&GN on the sidelines, whatever, bang, right, regardless of what's going on up there, which I know a lot of about that railway to T, right, I want I want the management to know they are in the wrong, right, they could take it further, further, further and knock everybody out, right? They will do that eventually when somebody else discovers what's going on, right? I can only help the community, help them understand about the prices, help them understand there's a bigger problem involved. There's the answer that you seek, but the porters and guards can see what the problem is, but they can't do nothing because they all on standstill. So when you got that and you got the management that's acting really stupid, then add it up. Then plus the prices on top equals no customers. Why? Because with a 5 mile trip, you have to be realistic on 3 stations and 1 halt. We cannot have this railway turned upside down because of bad management. You have to turn it into a positive and knock them out. Why? Because there's bigger things at play here than just it's not a game, that's for sure. but acknowledge what, why, why it is what it is. The Norfolk Railway is not running away. They lost a lot of the community. They lost a lot of customers. Right? So when it comes to the uniform, you represent the railway, but then you've got to work out in the middle. I've just gone on the platform, and now we got to wait for the customers. I said you're not going to get none because it's black and white, stating in clear crystal. It's not the porters and the guards' fault. So when you wear that uniform, they may be walking up and down the platform like they do, but in the end of the day, when you're on there, travelling in and out from Sheringham to Hull, you do not realise the management has screwed nearly basically everybody, right? So the community has been affected. They've been affected. The porters and the guards have been affected. Why? Because of bad management. And this is why the uniform is, are you doing it for the uniform? Do you realise there's a bigger picture involved? Does it look, well, I'm acknowledging for you, right? The reason why the previous generation, plus myself, third gen fat controller, obviously, you have to be realistic. I was supposed to help you guys out, but there were a lot of people that were ruder to me, right? So I knew that they were getting cocky, rude, and selfish. This is why the money went up. So if I was there, I would say, look, to keep the customers in right now, you're going to have to drop the prices because you're not going to gain anything. It's like what this guy know. What they're going to say is a lot of volunteers and staff will pick up the answer and realise he knows what he's talking about. Are you doing it for the uniform or just for the money? And when you combine them together and then realise there's a problem with the money issue, I really don't like how high they gone up, right? But you got to realise there's a 5 mile trip, 3 stations and 1 halt, right? How many times does do you realise that Sheringham, Weybourne and Holt really, really give you money at this moment? The answer is no. So realistically, down the line, when you look in the sky and look in front of you and realise you're drinking your tea and coffee and waiting for the passengers to show up, right? They're not going to come to you because the prices are too high. So what do? You can't acknowledge that to the management. I need people to realise that the steam trains start running at 5 a.m. in the morning because they have to be scoped up. But when they finish at 5 p.m., then they cool off. Then the porters and the guards have to realise that people haven't got that type of money right now because you have to realise during the year there are people that are rich enough to get on there. Yes, we probably agree. But down the line, when it comes to it, when you wear that uniform in the end of the day, which I'm trying to acknowledge, the uniform is what it doesn't. What I would say, it doesn't give you power, right? It doesn't give you respect yet, right? We know it's a key element. Respect is the key, right? So it doesn't give you power, and all it does is tries to earn you the respect, right? So when you earn your money, right, check your pink slips day and day every month and realise what is actually coming into your account, and then you check what's been taxed. Then you end it up. Try that for the whole year through, right? Then the next thing's on the list, right? Then you start to prioritise. Why did I deserve this money when the community wants cheaper train fares? Because you have to be realistic on the mileage. And it's not about stoking up the steam of a train or whatever, or diesel going down the line. The people ask, or the management are asking too much from the community, which they don't often have. It's money issues, right? They're not going to get it on a silver platter like that, like a plate of fish, right? Right? So people say if you want something done correctly, you've got to start from bottom up. You cannot. The uniform may be the starting point, but it ends up being the ultimate key to everything else because then you're stuck in the middle. You got the management of being like complete so-and-sos near enough, and then you've got the actual prices that are confusing the community because they want to go on the railway, but you've got to be realistic of the mileage, and then you've got to be realistic on the stations. So when things come to shove, what are you gaining in the end of the day? It's not when you wear that uniform. It's like saying we want respect, but it doesn't give you power because the power lies from within of your own heart and soul and mind. If you're intelligent enough to work this out and realize that the prices are too high, you're wearing a uniform day after day to try and impress people to say this is the best railway to come to, work it out and work backwards and go forwards and realize how can we continue where the second gen had left off. You can't because the the management at the time screwed you over, all over. So when you got the bad management in between, they screwed you over. So when you're wearing that uniform, you're not getting the respect. All you're doing is getting the money, right? The money will always be there, but the thing is, you've got to realize from right from wrong. You need to recorrect something. And it's the biggest thing in life that you have to realize. Use your eyes and ears to realize there's a bigger picture in play here. And when you look at the prices, then look at yourselves and look at how many customers you get. I know what I would do. Right, people are catching you out. Not just me, but people are because they're using their eyes and ears. And I know when a bad railway comes down the line, the uniform represents that railway because the railway needs a fresh start. You need to start prioritising and realise that uniform or the railway uniforms you wear means something. And it's not just about the company. It's William Marriott you're representing, one of my own private contacts. So if you're one of those people that understand everything, work it out, work it backwards, and go forwards. It all makes sense in the end. But you need to realize the uniform doesn't give you power. It gives you respect. Yes, the money issue is too high. So you need to realize how do we get customers to come back to that railway without damaging ourselves, right? The administration or the management already done that for you. They already damaged the bloody railway. So work it out. You want to really clear your heads out on this? This is not a game to be playing around with. So when you look at it in the real way, the uniform represents the railway, right? First of all, prices, then the management. The management are going to get one fireball coming to them now because they've got not just myself, but the whole second gen they booted out, including 1,000 volunteers. Why? Because we were booted out when we shouldn't have been. Why? I am taking everybody's complaints and also people's disrespect or former management disrespect. Why? Because I have to take employees and the volunteers complaints on top of that. So build it up like you've got a big giant bomb on you. Right? So then you've got to realise I am standing up for the railway's respect, or wants its respect. But to gain that respect back, drop the prices, right? Because you're not going to let them all. What they will do, they will look at the calculations of the food, the water, then the travelling, then the platform ticket, etc., going down the line. And then you've got to realise the management screwed you over. When I was in, let's just say, in a very difficult predicament, but it all makes sense if you listen to Duck's story because it will tell you the damn truth and that it's already played out. So work it out, go backwards, then go forwards. Then you will work out what is important about Duck's story. It's the damn truth from beginning of from his line, right? But where it concerns me, you will learn the bigger truth in it. And then you will wonder why the railway's lost so much respect, right? So when you wear that uniform, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing the railway. But at the same time, you've got to realise porters and guards are stuck in the middle. They can't move forward, left, right, or centre. Why? Because they don't know what to do. The management already screwed you over before you came onto the platform. So when you got a bad management, then the prices on top, it made you look like the baddest railway in Norfolk. And that's the reason why it's all screwed up. I just hope it gives you a better insider. Thank you very much indeed.